Strength is not the absence of struggle, nor is it the denial of pain. Mental strength is born from the way we meet life, the way we interpret its storms, and the courage with which we walk through them. The mind becomes strong not by running from discomfort, but by facing it, embracing it, and learning what it is trying to teach. Every day offers us a choice to live unconsciously, repeating old patterns, or to step into awareness and master ourselves. Mental resilience does not come overnight. It grows in small, deliberate practices, disciplines of thought, attitude, and action. When we live with awareness, we transform suffering into wisdom, setbacks into stepping stones, and fears into pathways toward freedom. To become mentally strong is not to suppress emotions, but to learn to carry them without being ruled by them. It is the art of standing firm while the world shakes, of holding inner silence while noise surrounds you, and of acting with clarity even when doubt whispers within. True strength is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted. Strength begins with the courage to see, not to see as we wish, not to see through the fog of our desires or fears, but to see as it truly is. To face reality without illusion is one of the most difficult tasks in life, yet it is also the most liberating. Most people carry within them a secret wish that life would bend itself to their comfort, that hardships would vanish, that disappointments would never come, that others would act according to their hopes. But reality is indifferent to our wishes. It is vast, untamed, and beyond our control. The mind that demands reality to conform will forever be broken by it, but the mind that accepts reality gains strength from it. Illusions are comforting, like soft blankets we wrap around ourselves to avoid the coldness of truth. We convince ourselves that things will always remain the same, that people will not change, that suffering can be avoided if we pretend hard enough. Yet illusions carry a hidden poison. They weaken us. They make us unprepared for the inevitable storms of life. They blind us to opportunities and prevent us from seeing dangers clearly. A person who clings to illusion builds their house on sand. The smallest wave washes it away. But the one who looks directly at reality, even when it is hard, builds their foundation on rock. To face reality requires inner courage, because reality is not always kind. It will show us our own weaknesses, our failures, and the parts of ourselves we would rather ignore. It will reveal that life contains suffering, uncertainty, and loss. Yet within these truths lies freedom. When we stop resisting what is, we gain the power to respond with clarity. To accept reality is not to give up hope, but to stop wasting energy on denial. It means redirecting our strength from wishing into acting, from fantasy into growth. Consider the one who refuses to acknowledge their own limitations. They dream of success, but they never confront the discipline it requires. Their illusion whispers that talent alone is enough, and so they stagnate. Now consider the one who faces the truth that success demands sacrifice, consistency, and perseverance. By facing this reality, they can prepare themselves, adjust their habits, and endure the grind. The second grows stronger because they live with eyes open, while the first remains trapped in a dream. Facing reality also means seeing others clearly. Too often we paint people with the colors of our own desires. We expect them to love us perfectly, to never betray us, to never fail us. And when they do, as all humans eventually will, we suffer not only the pain of their actions, but the pain of broken illusion. If instead we accept the truth that every human is imperfect, capable of error, guided by their own needs and struggles, then we can relate to them with compassion instead of disappointment. Strength comes from seeing others as they are, not as we demand them to be. The most profound act of courage, however, is to face ourselves without illusion. To look into the mirror and acknowledge both light and shadow, both strength and weakness. Most people avoid this confrontation. They prefer to hide their flaws behind excuses, or to inflate their virtues to escape insecurity. But illusions about ourselves keep us weak. They prevent us from growing, because growth only begins when we accept the raw truth of where we are. To admit our flaws is not to condemn ourselves. It is to open the door to transformation. When you remove illusion, you do not lose hope. You gain power. You stop waiting for the world to change and begin to change yourself. You stop fearing what might happen and learn to stand firm no matter what does. Reality in its rawness may feel harsh, but it also carries within it the clarity that sets you free. A strong mind does not live in fantasy. It sees clearly, acts wisely, and adapts fearlessly. To face reality without illusion is to anchor yourself in truth, and truth is the soil where strength grows. The mind is not a silent place. From the moment we wake until the moment we close our eyes at night, a voice speaks within us. Sometimes it encourages us, sometimes it criticizes us, sometimes it repeats fears and doubts that echo louder than the world outside. This inner dialogue shapes our reality more than any external circumstance. The strongest prison is not built of walls, but of words we tell ourselves every day. To become mentally strong, we must learn to master that voice, not by silencing it, but by guiding it with wisdom. Many people live at the mercy of their thoughts. They wake with a heavy heart because their mind immediately whispers, "You are not enough." They hesitate to try because the voice within says, "You will fail." They shrink from opportunities because their inner dialogue convinces them, "You do not deserve it." No enemy outside has the power to wound us as deeply as the untrained voice inside. When this voice is left wild, it becomes a tyrant, keeping us small, fearful, and weak. But when this voice is disciplined, when it learns to speak with clarity and strength, it becomes the greatest ally we could ever have. To master your inner dialogue is to realize that you are not the helpless listener of your thoughts. You are their director. Thoughts will arise uninvited, many of them shaped by past experiences, old wounds, and fears inherited from others. But you are not obligated to follow every thought. You can pause, question, and redirect. When the voice says, "You cannot," you can answer, "Why not?" When it says, "You will fail," you can respond, "Failure is part of growth." This act of guiding your thoughts is the practice of mental strength. Imagine a friend who followed you everywhere, speaking to you constantly. If this friend insulted you daily, mocked your dreams, and reminded you only of your mistakes, would you allow them to stay in your life? Most would say no. Yet we allow our inner dialogue to do exactly this. We tolerate a voice within that diminishes us, while forgetting that we have the power to change it. By becoming aware of this voice and reshaping it, we can transform our relationship with ourselves. Mastering your inner dialogue does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It does not mean replacing every negative thought with shallow affirmations. It means speaking to yourself with honesty, clarity, and encouragement. If you fail, acknowledge it without cruelty. "I failed, but I can learn." If you are afraid, do not deny it, but say, "I feel fear, yet I can act despite it." This balance of truth and strength builds resilience. You do not need a voice that flatters you falsely. You need a voice that pushes you to grow while reminding you of your worth. Over time, the voice inside can become your inner guide, a mentor who steadies you when the world shakes. In moments of doubt, it can remind you of your past victories. In moments of pain, it can encourage you to endure. In moments of temptation, it can call you back to discipline. But this only happens through practice. Through choosing every day to shape your thoughts rather than being shaped by them. The way you speak to yourself will determine the way you face life. A weak inner dialogue produces hesitation, fear, and defeat. A strong inner dialogue produces courage, persistence, and clarity. Words carry power even when they are spoken only in the mind. The moment you learn to master your inner dialogue is the moment you stop being your own enemy and become your own source of strength. In the end, mental strength is not about silencing the inner voice, but about transforming it into an ally that carries you forward. When your dialogue within is steady, disciplined, and courageous, no storm outside can overpower you. The world may try to break you, but if the voice inside you remains strong, you will rise again unshaken. Human beings are naturally drawn toward comfort. We seek warmth instead of cold, ease instead of struggle, security instead of uncertainty. Comfort gives us temporary peace, but it does not make us strong. True growth rarely emerges from what is easy. It is discomfort, those moments of tension, struggle, and unease, that molds the mind into resilience and reveals the deeper layers of our strength. To avoid discomfort is to avoid growth. To embrace it is to allow life itself to shape us into something greater. Discomfort has many faces. It comes in the form of failure when our efforts do not bring the result we hoped for. It appears as rejection when others do not value us as we wish. It arrives as fear when we face the unknown, as pain when we lose someone we love, as restlessness when our soul longs for change. Each form of discomfort is a message, a lesson, a teacher waiting to be recognized. Yet most people run from it. They seek distraction. They numb themselves with endless noise. They avoid anything that threatens their sense of ease. By running from discomfort, they also run from wisdom. Think of the body. Muscles grow only when they are pushed beyond their comfort zone, stretched and strained until they adapt. The same law governs the mind and the spirit. Without resistance, there is no growth. Without challenge, there is no strength. Those who shield themselves from all hardship remain fragile, easily broken by life's smallest storms. Those who accept discomfort as a companion become unshakable, for they have trained themselves to endure. Embracing discomfort does not mean seeking unnecessary suffering. It does not mean punishing yourself or inviting chaos. It means recognizing that the path of growth will never be smooth, and instead of resisting that truth, you welcome it. You see pain not as an enemy but as a messenger, pointing you toward what needs to change, what must be learned, and where you are being invited to evolve. Discomfort sharpens awareness. It forces us to confront parts of ourselves that comfort allows us to ignore. It strips away illusions and reveals reality in its rawest form. Consider the discomfort of failure. At first, it stings, leaving us with shame or regret. But hidden within that sting is instruction. What went wrong? What can be improved? What discipline we must develop? If we turn away from failure, we lose the chance to grow. If we face it, we emerge wiser, stronger, more prepared. The same is true of fear. Fear shows us the edge of our current strength. It marks the boundary of our comfort zone. To walk into that fear is to expand the limits of what we are capable of. Each step through discomfort extends our freedom. Those who embrace discomfort live differently. They do not avoid challenges, they step into them. They do not collapse in the face of pain, they seek to understand it. They do not fear rejection, they see it as redirection. Every difficulty becomes fuel, every struggle becomes a lesson. Every wound becomes an opening through which strength enters. Life cannot defeat such a person, for they have learned to use even suffering as a source of growth. The paradox of discomfort is that the more we avoid it, the weaker we become, but the more we face it, the stronger we grow. Mental strength is not the absence of hardship. It is the ability to walk through hardship without losing yourself. When you stop running from discomfort and instead welcome it as a teacher, you begin to see that every painful moment carries the seeds of transformation. In truth, discomfort is life's way of shaping you. It does not come to destroy you, it comes to awaken you. Within its pressure, you discover resilience. Within its fire, you discover courage. Within its silence, you discover patience. To embrace discomfort is to embrace the process of becoming. And when you learn this art, you realize that even in your hardest moments, you are not being broken, you are being built. One of the heaviest chains a person can wear is the need for constant validation. To live in search of approval is to hand over the keys of. The truth is this: the world will never offer consistent validation. One moment you are praised, the next you are criticized. Some will admire you for your choices, while others will despise you for the very same ones. If your strength depends on their opinions, you will rise and fall endlessly like a ship tossed by every wave. But if your strength comes from within, you will remain steady no matter what winds blow against you. Detaching from the need for validation does not mean rejecting connection with others. Human beings are social creatures, and feedback, guidance, and recognition can all be valuable. But there is a difference between appreciating recognition and depending on it. Appreciation is gratitude. Dependency is bondage. When you appreciate validation but do not rely on it, you remain free. You can hear both praise and criticism without being controlled by either. This detachment requires courage because it forces you to face yourself. When you no longer ask, "Do they approve of me?" you must ask instead, "Do I approve of myself?" This question is far more challenging, for it demands honesty. It demands that you look at your actions, your values, and your choices with clarity. You can no longer hide behind the comfort of applause. Instead, you must cultivate inner standards, principles and values that guide you regardless of who is watching. Consider the artist who creates not for recognition but for truth. Their work may be misunderstood, criticized, or ignored. Yet they continue because their purpose does not depend on approval. Consider the leader who makes decisions not to please the crowd, but to act with integrity. They may face opposition, yet they remain steadfast because they answer to their own conscience first. These are examples of strength born from detachment. When you detach from validation, you begin to live authentically. You no longer mold yourself into shapes that please others. You speak with honesty, even if your voice is unpopular. You pursue goals aligned with your inner calling, even if they are not admired by the majority. And ironically, it is often those who no longer chase validation who earn genuine respect. For authenticity has a quiet power that pretense can never achieve. The path toward this freedom is not easy. It requires awareness of how deeply the need for approval is woven into your thoughts. It requires patience, as old habits of seeking validation will try to resurface. But with practice, you can train yourself to pause whenever you feel the urge to be recognized. In that pause, you can ask, "Am I doing this because it is true to me, or because I want others to notice?" The more you choose truth over recognition, the more your strength grows. Detachment is not withdrawal from life. It is mastery over your inner compass. It allows you to walk into the world with openness, to accept praise without pride and criticism without despair. It grants you the freedom to live with clarity, anchored in your own values. To detach from validation is to reclaim the power you unknowingly gave away. It is to stand firm, knowing that your worth is not in the eyes of others, but in the depth of your own being. Discipline is often imagined as a grand force, a heroic effort summoned only in moments of great challenge. But the truth is far simpler and far more demanding. Discipline is built quietly in the small choices of everyday life. It is not the rare burst of willpower that makes a person strong, but the consistent practice of directing their actions with intention. Mental strength is forged not in occasional triumphs, but in the humble, repeated acts that slowly shape character and transform the mind. We are what we repeatedly do. Every small decision becomes a thread, and with time, these threads weave the fabric of our lives. The choice to wake early instead of sleeping in, the decision to finish a task instead of postponing it, the restraint to keep a promise even when it is inconvenient. These small acts of discipline may seem insignificant in isolation, yet together they create an inner order that can withstand chaos. Without discipline, life is ruled by impulse. The undisciplined mind seeks comfort at every turn, avoids difficulty and postpones responsibility. It drifts aimlessly, controlled by moods and circumstances. Such a life may feel easier in the short term, but it erodes strength, leaving the person fragile and unprepared when true challenges arise. Discipline, on the other hand, is the training ground of resilience. By choosing order over chaos in the smallest of ways, we prepare ourselves to face the greater trials of life with steadiness. Consider the simple act of keeping a daily routine. To rise at a set time, to organize your tasks, to follow through with commitments even when you do not feel like it. These practices train the mind to act according to principle rather than mood. Moods are fleeting, unreliable, and easily swayed by circumstance. Discipline is steady, rooted in choice rather than feeling. The more you practice discipline in small acts, the less power your moods have over you. Discipline is also a form of respect for your own potential. Every time you honor a small commitment, you remind yourself that your word matters. When you ignore small responsibilities, you weaken your trust in yourself. Strength grows when you prove, again and again, that you can be relied upon, even when no one else is watching. Discipline in small acts creates an inner loyalty, a bond with yourself that cannot be broken by external pressure. It is easy to dream of greatness, to imagine a future where success arrives effortlessly. But dreams without discipline dissolve into fantasies. Greatness is never the result of one extraordinary leap. It is the outcome of countless. Discipline in small daily acts is the foundation of mental strength. It is the structure that holds you steady when life's storms arrive. It is the unseen practice that shapes visible greatness. Each small victory builds confidence, each act of order strengthens resilience. When you live with discipline, you no longer wait for life to shape you, you shape yourself. And in that shaping, you become unshakable. In a world overflowing with noise, silence has become a rare treasure. Everywhere, voices compete for our attention. News, conversations, opinions, and the endless hum of digital distraction. The mind itself becomes restless, echoing with thoughts that never seem to stop. Yet beneath all this noise, there exists a place of profound stillness, a quiet reservoir of strength waiting to be discovered. To nurture inner silence is to return to this place, to learn to dwell in it, and to draw from it the clarity and resilience that noise can never provide. Silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is a state of being, an inner alignment where the mind settles, the heart steadies, and the soul becomes attentive. In silence, we meet ourselves without masks, without distractions, without the constant chatter of the world, telling us who we should be. Many people fear silence because it confronts them with truths they have long avoided. Yet it is precisely in this confrontation that strength is born. For when we learn to sit with silence, we learn to sit with ourselves. Noise weakens the mind because it scatters attention. The restless mind, constantly pulled outward, loses connection with its center. It reacts to every stimulus, every opinion, every shifting circumstance. Such a mind is fragile, easily disturbed, never at peace. Silence gathers the scattered pieces of the self and brings them home. It draws energy inward, allowing us to see clearly, to think deeply, and to act with purpose. To nurture inner silence is not to withdraw from the world, but to carry within you a space untouched by it. This silence becomes a sanctuary, a steady ground beneath your feet, even when everything outside is turbulent. It is the silence of a mountain standing firm as storms pass over it. It is the silence of deep waters, calm beneath the surface even when waves crash above. In cultivating this silence, you discover a power greater than noise, the power of presence. In silence, wisdom arises. The greatest insights rarely appear in the midst of noise. They emerge in stillness, when the mind is free from distraction and the heart is open to listen. Silence teaches patience, for it slows the restless urge to act without reflection. Silence teaches humility, for it shows us how little we need compared to what we imagine. Silence teaches strength, for it reminds us that peace does not come from the outside world, but from within. To nurture inner silence, one must practice returning to it daily. It may be through moments of meditation, quiet reflection, or simply stepping away from the rush of life to sit in stillness. These moments need not be long, but they must be sincere. In the beginning, the mind will resist. It will demand noise, distraction, movement. Yet with practice, silence becomes more natural, more nourishing, until it is no longer something you visit occasionally, but something you carry always. There is great power in a silent mind. It does not mean the absence of thought, but the mastery of it. A silent mind chooses when to think and when to rest. It does not chase every distraction, nor does it become consumed by every fear. It remains centered, calm, and alert. Such a mind cannot be easily shaken, for its strength comes not from the approval of others, nor the chaos of circumstances, but from a deep well within. The world will always be loud, filled with demands and distractions. You cannot silence it, but you can nurture silence within yourself. This silence becomes your compass, your anchor, your source of resilience. In silence, you discover who you truly are. And in knowing yourself, you find a strength that no noise can touch. To nurture inner silence is to nurture power. It is to discover that the most unshakable strength does not shout, but stands quietly. It is not restless, but still. It is not scattered, but whole. And once you have touched this silence, you will never again mistake noise for strength, nor distraction for life. For within the quiet, you will have found the deepest source of mental resilience. Strength of the mind is not born in a single moment. It is built slowly, through truth, discipline, courage, and silence. To face reality without illusion, to master the voice within, to embrace discomfort as a guide, to detach from the endless hunger for validation, to build discipline through small, faithful acts, and to nurture the silence where wisdom lives. This is the path of resilience. Life will never cease to test you. There will always be storms, setbacks, and voices that try to shake your confidence. But when your strength comes from within, no external force can break you. You become rooted, like a tree that bends but does not fall. You become steady, like the mountain that watches storms pass without moving. Remember this: true power is not loud, it is not desperate for recognition, and it is not fragile. True power is quiet, clear, and deeply grounded. It is the courage to meet life as it is, and the determination to rise each time you are tested. Carry this with you every day. Do not wait for the world to make you strong. Train your mind to become strong now. Every truth you face, every challenge you endure, every act of discipline you keep is building within you a fortress no one can see, but everyone will feel. When you master yourself,